The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. Kadarius Toney did it in just one play, but he is not deep enough for the waivers that we are here to talk about today. Again, we are here to talk about 7 different sleepers that you can add in your deep, probably dynasty leagues. Looking forward, we use a 50% rostership threshold in sleeper, targeting players that can help you this year or targeting players that might be able to gain some value through the offseason. We're going to lead off. We're going to start with Ameer Abdullah from the Las Vegas Raiders. And we saw Josh Jacobs leave with a knee injury in week 14. The Raiders are falling far out of the playoff contention now. They lost this past week to drop to 5-8, and they are all but mathematically eliminated. They face the Chargers on a short Thursday night week, and it is unlikely that Josh Jacobs is going to play at this point. Now, Zamir White is probably going to be the biggest talking point coming out of this as the biggest beneficiary, but Ameer Abdullah has played above him for most of the season. And I think that when you really look and break down this backfield, while this was primarily a backfield that Josh Jacobs almost had a bell cow role in, I think with him out of the lineup, you're likely to see a Zamir White take the early down work and take probably the goal line work, while Abdullah, who was already seeing about 15% snap share, is probably going to take more of the passing work. With a Raiders offense that's struggling to generate offense, that could trend well towards the veteran Abdullah. Obviously, we're stepping into playoff weeks here, and we're talking about just deep moves. And so it's unlikely that you're going to get a fantasy contribution here. But if you're very desperate, Ameer Abdullah leading it off as a potential PPR option, whereas I like Zamir White more as a standard league option. I think you're going to need a touchdown to make him a strong play. Wide receiver Demarcus Robinson from the Los Angeles Rams. He's 9% sleeper rostered. We talked about him last week, but he definitely deserves mention now this week. He had a revenge matchup against the Baltimore Ravens. He had 10 targets, scored a touchdown in this game, and the Los Angeles Rams played one of the best games of the week, taking the Ravens into overtime before losing on a punt return. Tutu Atwell left this game with a concussion, and before even that, it had looked like Robinson had solidified the third receiver role. With Atwell out of the lineup, he definitely is the third receiver in this offense. This is a deeper move, but if you're desperate, if you're missing something this week and you've got a very deep lineup, I think Robinson is a player that can be added, and we have seen decent volume coming from him, scoring touchdowns in back-to-back weeks. But this is probably a better stash play for if Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua were to miss any time. I do expect targets to be siloed pretty heavily towards them. Staying with the Rams, Davis Allen, 6% sleeper rostered, is another option. Tight end out of Clemson. He is a rookie. Tyler Higbee missed this game this week, and while Tyler Higbee was coming off a 2-touchdown performance, Allen stepped in very admirably, scoring a touchdown, gaining 50 yards, a number that Tyler Higbee has only met twice this season. His 5 receptions were a number that, or his 5 targets were a number that Tyler Higbee has also only met 3 times this year. So the team looked very comfortable using Allen. He delivered first the touchdown that he scored, but also he had a big key third down conversion. Allen is an interesting player. He's not overly athletic, but he's a 5th round pick. The problem here lies the Rams signed Tyler Higbee to a 2-year extension back in September. So Higbee is expected to remain with the team. So Allen is likely to serve maybe as a second tight end and 2 tight end sets, although they haven't used him heavily in that. They have trended towards using Hunter Long, the other tight end that they acquired from Miami, in that type of role. So Allen probably, if Higbee were to miss time again, and especially if Tutu Atwell is out of the lineup, Allen could be a very, very deep tight end play on the radar. But we're stepping into those playoff, and so hopefully you've got strong rosters. That this is really just kind of a stash long term, and see if anything happens. See if Allen can duplicate that performance again. Quarterback Easton Stick from the Los Angeles Chargers, 2% sleeper rostered. Easton Stick saw his first significant action of a 4-year NFL career. He's a 28-year-old quarterback, and while he is advanced in what would be experience in terms of years and age at 28, he's still very raw when it comes to development and when it comes to his playing experience, which is almost none. This is, again, they play the Raiders on a short week, so this is a just really desperation play. But with Justin Herbert picking up a hand injury, I think that we're kind of at the point where we might not see him again this year. And this is the year of backup quarterbacks. We have seen Josh Dobbs had a strong run. We're in a little bit of a Jake Browning moment. Drew Lock looked capable for most of the game against the 49ers. So I'm hesitant to scoff at any backup quarterback option, even if the Chargers offense has been struggling with Justin Herbert at quarterback. Easton Stick does possess the requisite size. He has athleticism for the position. He has a big arm that he showed off with a 57-yard completion to Quentin Johnston. So again, this is a deep league. You're playing in a super flex league. I don't think you can start Stick on a short week going into Thursday unless you are very desperate. But we've been surprised with some of these performances. Again, mentioning Browning, some of these performances that we've seen from these backup quarterbacks. So at the very least, you want to add him to play defense against maybe somebody else who is struggling to fill a super flex position in your league. Wide receiver Xavier Hutchinson from Houston, 54% sleeper rostered, sitting just above our 50% threshold. He might be the most exciting long-term play here, although that Houston wide receiver room definitely looks very crowded long-term. We know Tank Dell is out for the season, and we saw Nico Collins leave this game with injury. The Texans offense really struggled to get off the ground here, and it was CJ Stroud's worst game as a professional. He did leave this game with concussion evaluation. Hopefully he is able to return quickly as the Texans have a plus matchup against the Titans next week. Hutchinson led all receivers in snaps. And so if Collins is out, and especially if Stroud is able to make it back next week, Hutchinson is a low-key, under-the-radar play. You might see more volume go in the direction of maybe Robert Woods or Noah Brown. But Hutchinson in an offense that really struggled this past week and needs to get back on track, long-term, the rookie out of Iowa State projects as being a player that can handle significant volume. That's what he did at Iowa State, and he has that type of frame, that type of game to serve in that type of role, being able to win in the intermediate and being able to work after the catch a little bit. So Hutchinson is still available in many leagues, and so that's a great stash to go out there and add for your deep dynasty leagues. Now, Kavontae Turpin from Dallas, he's 12% sleeper rostered. He's kind of more of a fun player than he is a fantasy option at this point. He's just not getting the usage to get him up to fantasy relevance, but he has scored 4 touchdowns on the season, and his speed definitely stands out when you watch Dallas. I think this is one of those that you can stash him in your very, very deepest leagues, and you probably want to just keep an eye on him over stashing him unless you just have a wide open bench spot. But as Dallas moves through the season and coming off the dominant performance that they showed against the Philadelphia Eagles, would expect the Cowboys to play somewhat deep into the playoffs with eyes on them. And so Turpin is the type of player, and this is kind of a fundamental, just think about this game theory wise, where you add Turpin and he can accrue value with all eyes on him going into the playoffs. And then you never know what might happen there. And so this is just a speculative ad. Again, he's got a long way to go before he sees fantasy relevant volume, but in the small opportunity that he is getting, he does look like a player that has game-changing speed. Last one is going to be Will Mallory from Indianapolis, 12% sleeper rostered. The Colts tight end position has just been a straight up whack-a-mole in fantasy. We're coming off of Kylen Granson having the best yardage outcome for the team with 72 yards in week 13. So of course, Will Mallory goes out and has the highest target total for the team on the season with 5 targets, catching all 5 of those passes. Mallory might be the most interesting one out of the group, though, if this works long-term as one player emerging. He's a rookie 5th round pick out of Miami. He was the fastest tight end in the 2023 NFL draft, running a 4.54 40-yard dash. He possesses great size for the position too, 6'5", 240 pounds. Profiles as that X receiver, especially with that speed. Granson is in a similar mold, so you likely need one of them to miss time to really feel good with the other one in your lineup. But if you're to place a chip, and again, we're looking just at deep leagues that we can add players who might be able to accrue value through the offseason, Mallory would be my bet out of that tight end group as that player that could emerge. Again, Colts are pushing towards the playoffs, right in the verge of consideration. And so much like while Turpin should go further, there is a chance that Mallory does have a spotlight and puts up a big game. And these are just kind of the type of, at this point in the season, the speculative dynasty ads that you want to place a chip on just to see if some value can come out of there. But thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe to all of Football Guys content. Make sure to check out our injury expert, Adam Hutchinson, who is going to run you through all the injuries coming out of this week and give you more color around that. Make sure to check out Dave Kluge and Alfredo Browns, the Football Guys fantasy show. They will run through waivers as well. Make sure to like and subscribe. Good luck out there. Go out and win your championship. And thank you so much for being Football Guys customers.